Hello, I'm Deanie. Welcome to my creative writing course, Get Started. Now, this first course is aimed at anyone who wants to start writing or improve their writing skills, and it covers techniques such as how to plot stories, progressing your story through dialogue, using tenses, controlling pace, how point of view works, as well as exploring poetic techniques and lots of other really useful topics to help you on your way to becoming a skilled writer. There are 12 fun and easy to follow weekly lessons with clear examples of every topic and exercises for you to practice each new skill. Each video has a blog post that goes with it. I recommend that you watch the entire video, then use the blog post to recap the exercises or use the timestamps provided in the video notes to review any sections. Please do feel free to comment on the videos or the blog posts. I love to hear from you and help you on your writing journey. Now, before we start the course, there are a few things that I often get asked about, and I just want to take you through some of those things because they'll be really useful for you as a writer and in doing this course as well. So the first one is, how do I actually become a writer? Well, what I would say to you is, do you mean someone who makes a living from writing or someone who writes from pleasure? Because there is a difference. If you want to make a living from being a writer, then there is a huge amount you need to learn about the business of writing. There are lots of websites and YouTube tutorials that can help you, and also I'll do some videos at some point as well. But first of all, before any of that, you need to get writing, because the way to get good at writing is to write a lot. Why? Well, because writing's a craft, and like any craft, the more you do, the better you'll get at it. Just take a look at the very first novels of some very well-known authors. Quite often you'll see a marked difference in their ability between the first novel that they wrote and their most recent ones. Not only their ability, their style and their confidence too. So take a look, really, you'll really notice a difference. Other things that writers do to become more writerly. 4 things in fact. Subscribe to writing magazines. In the UK, we've got Writing Magazine and Writers Forum, and both of those have online presences as well, which you can look at. So they're really, really good. In America, you've got the Writer Magazine. There are lots of others as well. The great thing about writing magazines is that they give you lots of tips and hints about how to become a writer, how to improve your skills, but also they have competitions, writing competitions for poetry, short stories, long stories, every genre and all sorts of different styles. They are a great place to practice your writing skills. Enter some of those competitions. They're great fun, and you never know, you might win one of them. Another thing to do, attend local literary festivals or book fairs. These are places where you'll find authors hanging out, selling their books, giving talks about their writing. Authors love to talk about their writing, and if you approach them and ask them how they became an author, what skills they've got, where they came from, how they did it, anything really, they'll love to talk to you. So go and hang out and learn about your local writing community. Join Facebook groups for writers. Now there are lots and lots of Facebook groups for every different aspect of writing, from the business of writing, niche groups about specific topics, say writing about unicorns for example, absolutely everything. Have a look at what's out there. Don't join all of them at once. It's too much, it's too overwhelming. Find a couple of groups that suit your needs at the moment, perhaps the genre that you're interested in, and just a general writing community where you can chat to other writers. Just keep it simple and then join more groups as you progress, as you know what you want from it. And the fourth, but probably most important thing you can do as a writer is to join a local writing group. They are a brilliant source of people to talk to who are doing the same thing as you, in the same position. They're all learning about writing, improving. You can share your writing with them. They'll give you critique on your writing. You can critique on their writing. It's a really good thing to do. You might not have a writing group in your area. By all means, start one. You don't have to be an advanced writer or a prolific writer to start a writing group. You just have to be someone who's interested in writing to join with other people who are interested in writing. One other thing I'll say about writing groups is that they all have their own distinct personalities. So why don't you try a couple of different ones, see which one is the right fit for you. So those are 4 really useful tips for becoming more writerly, but the biggest and best thing you can do as a writer is to write, and to write a lot. Another question is, what should I write on? What software should I use? Well, in fact, actually, some people don't use a computer at all. They use pen and paper, which is absolutely fine. I would encourage you to use a computer if you can, rather than pen and paper or typewriter, because it allows you to edit more easily. And if you're looking to publish or self-publish, you will need to have your writing typed. Personally, I use Microsoft Word because it has everything I need. I already have it on my computer and I used to teach it, so I know it inside out. I use it to write my books and I also self-publish it as well with it as well. So it does absolutely everything I need. But there are specialist pieces of software out there with really good reputations, things like Scrivener, which have a cost. But you may wish to invest in one. If you want something free, Google Docs. A lot of you authors use Google Docs. They use it to write their books and to publish as well. You can try out pieces of software online. Lots of them have free trials, so have a look at what's available, see what you like and what suits your budget as well. But if you can't get your creativity flowing unless you've got a beautiful fountain pen or your old archaic typewriter, if that's what you need to get your writing going, then by all means carry on with that, because at the end of the day, it's the writing that's important. Another question I get asked is, what sort of thing should I aim to write? Well, before I talk about that, what I want to do is to show you just a very small selection of the books that come from local writers, people that I know really well, just in my very small area. It's rather a hefty pile. Oh. So these are books that have been self-published by friends of mine locally. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of motivation that there are people producing books all over. As I said before, go to book fairs locally and see who's producing books in your area. You'll probably find there's a lot of people who are writing books, and you can write a book too. That's what I'm trying to say with this. This is, everyone can do it if they want to. Oh. But before you actually get started, it's worthwhile noting that when you're talking about books, there are preset expectations from both readers and publishers for the size of your books, the word count. Numbers do vary according to genre and according to where you look for these numbers as well. But if you're going to be writing or aiming to write some sort of book or anything else, it's worthwhile knowing that there are parameters you need to stick within, because if you go above or below these parameters, your readers are going to say, well, if you've got too few words, they're going to go, that's poor value for money. They didn't write enough. If you put too many words in, they're going to say, well, they're just filling it out with fluff. And if you're going to try and get published, you need to have a very specific set number of words, otherwise they're going to tell you to take loads of them out or put loads more in. So, for example, standard novels, they're anywhere between 80,000 and 100,000 words. If you've got a historical novel, like this one that one of my friends wrote, you can go up to about 125 to 130,000 words. You've got a few more words to play with because of all those beautiful descriptions that you want to put in there. If you're looking at a young adult novel, for example, a teenage novel, the Harry Potter sort of genre, you're looking anywhere from 45,000 to 80,000 words, because the younger people don't have quite so much willpower to spend on time reading a book. Mine, for example, is a teen science fiction. Mine's at 67,000 words, thereabouts. So it's pretty sort of in the middle of it. Science fiction novels, like historical novels, can go up to about 125. They tend to be more wordy. If you're looking at first chapter books, those are books for younger children who are just starting to read on their own. They usually have about 10 chapters and slightly larger writing. This is a good example of one. It's got slightly larger writing, some pictures, 10 chapters, and they're up to about 10,000 words. You wouldn't really want to go too much over that. The other thing that's really exciting at the moment are novellas. A novella is basically a shortened down novel. They are shorter and quicker to read because people don't have time now. We're working all the time, we're running all over the place. So a novel that's just a shorter novel is great. My example is Crime and Cremation. It's my book. I think it's about 52,000 words, thereabouts. It's a little bit shorter, so somebody can read it in a much quicker time span. They get the satisfaction of having read a whole book, but in much shorter time. Also, they're quicker to write, which is quite nice too. Don't tell anyone that. Something else that's really exciting, particularly if you're producing poetry, are zines. I recommend that you look on Etsy.com and type in zines into the search, and you'll find tons of them. They're very trendy. Basically, it's a booklet made of A4 pages, folded, and then bound by sewing or stapling. I've sewn mine, which is quite nice. They tend to be quite graphical. Quite often they're hand drawn and merely photocopied. It's usually 4 A4 pages folded, so I think that works out at about, my maths is right, 24 pages, thereabouts, so you can probably work out the math yourselves. They are great fun. This one I did for some poetry for a show that I wrote at our local theatre. It's a ghost story show, and I printed all the poems in a little zine that I hand out at the end of it, which people love. You can sell these at book fairs. People are very receptive to them, or you can sell them on Etsy as well. They go from between £2 to £4, so they're a great way of getting out small pieces of writing. You don't have to get out large pieces. The other thing I've got in here is short stories. Another thing that's very popular because of our time-starved lives at the moment. You might have a collection of short stories rather than a novel, and you can certainly publish those together as well. This is another friend who's written a number of really great short stories. It can be by one author, or you can collaborate with several other authors to bring together a book of short stories. They are really popular. So lots of different things that you can get out there. Also blog posts. People tend to expect longer blog posts at the moment, up to about 2,000 words. To be perfectly honest, most of mine aren't that long. I just can't seem to have the time to get them that long, but that is the expectation at the moment. You can also tweet stories. That's a thing too. There are lots of ways to get your writing out there, but you really need to know what the parameters are, what people expect of you, because you're giving people something and they want to know what they're getting. So please bear that in mind. And last of all, 5 really useful tips for the new writer and for anyone who's going to be doing my Creative Writing Get Started course. First of all, my course is listed by week, but not everyone has the time to dedicate to writing each week. I certainly don't. So please don't feel bad if you replace weeks with months or longer. The main thing is that you are writing, which means your writing will be improving. Secondly, keep everything you write, even if you hate it or think it's terrible. Now, I've seen Stephen King say on one of his videos that he doesn't keep anything at all. He chucks it all away because if it's a truly great idea, it will come back to him. He's Stephen King. Okay, I'm not, you probably aren't Stephen King yet either. I have a memory like a sieve. Everything goes, so I keep everything, because even if I don't like my piece of writing, there are always gems in it, little ideas, things that I can come back to and work with at a later date. So do keep it. Put it in a little folder, save it on your hard drive, but do keep it. It's really important. Third, don't be discouraged if you don't get on with any of the with a particular exercise within my course. If I ask you to write something, you think, oh, that's not my kind of thing, that's not what I write, that's fine. If you hate the idea, just go and write something different. As long as you're writing, I'm happy. But I would recommend that you try to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. I did that with writing science fiction. I didn't know that I could write science fiction, but I challenged myself with having a go, and actually I loved doing it. And the same with dialogue. I thought I hated dialogue, so I made myself write a novel that was mostly dialogue, and actually I realised I love it. So do try it, but I do understand that if you want to do something different, the main thing is you are writing. That's the important thing. Just write and write and write and write. Next, enjoy your writing and be proud of it. Whatever level that you're starting at, know that every time you write, you will understand the craft of writing better and you will improve your skill. So don't worry if you've never written before, you're going to get better. If you've written lots, you're still going to get better. I improve with my writing all the time and you will as well. So wherever you start, you're just going to be going upwards so long as you keep on writing. It's a bit of a theme here, keep on writing. Last of all, and this is quite important too, read more. Look at the books you read from the point of view of a writer. When you read something, ask, why did the author do it that way? If there's a piece of dialogue, think, what does that do to the story? How does that affect the story? Does it add something to the story? Why did they say it like that? I read everything on my Kindle, and I really recommend that as a writer, if you can get one or some other e-reader, it's great because you can take your books everywhere with you and you can get all sorts of books for free. You can download them on Kindle. You can download free books. Authors can put their books for free whenever they choose to. And you can download books by new authors you might never have thought of reading. The great thing about that, you might not like their writing, but every writer writes slightly differently, and you can pick up interesting techniques, new ways of doing things, new styles, new topics that you might not have thought of. So as a reader, as a writer, do your research by reading other people. Also, you're supporting other authors by trying out new writers. So those are my 5 essential tips for becoming a writer and for using this creative writing course. So you're ready now to get started.